Hello and welcome to a quick tutorial on some basic data formats that I find are pretty helpful to understand because they're broader implications for other formulas that you may need to use, such as lookups. So as you can see here, column A and column B both have some data in them, and I think we should compare them to have an understanding of whether they're equivalent, perhaps how they differ. Easiest way to compare two cells in Excel is to set them equal to each other using an equal sign. And Excel will then return either true or false. So if they're equivalent, you'll get a true. If they're not equivalent, you'll get a false. So I'm going to go ahead and set these two columns, these cell references equal to each other. And it actually gets a false here, right? Which is weird, right? Because we see a 1 and a 1, 1 equals 1. Real weird that we're getting a false. But that's okay. Let's take this formula and we'll bring it down one, and we'll see, okay, so suddenly this date formula from January 1990 is equal to this number of 32,874, and it says true. That's pretty weird too. So I just want to get the opportunity here to explain what's going on here. So in row 2, you can kind of see that the 1 in cell A2 is hugging the right side of the cell, and the 1 in cell B2 is hugging the left side. Kind of weird, but what this is really telling us, along with another indicator which I'll point out, is that A2 is a number and B2 is actually text. And you can see that here as well with this single quotes apostrophe up here in front of the 1, indicating that this 1 is actually text. That's why we're getting a false. So to get a true, let's go ahead and convert our number to text. So we reference that cell, A2, where the number is shown as a number, where 1 is shown as a number, and we format it to 0. And that's going to toggle it so that we now have text. And then we can compare text to text, and we'll get a true. Now, why is this important, right? So a lot of times I see people doing VLOOKUPs. A VLOOKUP is a sort of an advanced function where you use one cell to look up that same cell in a different table, and if it matches, you can pull other information from the second table, right? Which is great. However, if either side of that is text and the other side is a number, you won't get a true. Just like how you were getting a false right here, you'll get that kind of false within the context of the VLOOKUP, and you won't be able to pull any additional data from that second table. So a lot of times if I do a VLOOKUP and something doesn't look right, I will simply do a match on my own from one table to the other, from the column that I was looking to reference and look up, and see if I set two values that I know intuitively as a human being that they are the same. Whether it's a true or false, if it actually comes up false, that means something is different in terms of the formatting. There's some formatting, there's extra spaces at the end of one is a number, one is a text. There's clearly something that is not allowing you to look up because you cannot match between formats. You cannot match if one has extra spaces at the front end of the string or the back end of the string. Okay, so and let me actually show that as well in terms of spaces in front of a string. So let's use my name in column A and my name in column B, but I'll throw in 3 spaces after. Okay, and then let's compare these, and you get a false because of those, well, let's put that there. Okay, and you get a false, right? And those 3 spaces are really screwing us up. So what if we, having understood that something has gone awry here, we can peek into this using the F2 key and see how many characters there are. It looks like there's 4. Great. When I press F2 here, I can see that there appear to be some spaces, and that's a problem. So the way to solve this issue systematically is to use the trim function. Trim, basically, as you can see, it removes all spaces from a text string except for single spaces between words. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click press tab, which opens the formula. And then I'm going to reference the Omar in column B. Now, as I look at this, I think it worked, but let's check it. And I'm going to take the one that we know has 3 spaces and replace it with the one that we've just applied our trim function to. And now we have a true, right? That's the way it should work. Now you can look up this OMAR using this OMAR, right? Because neither of these have spaces. Whereas this one has the 3 spaces, which is not the way you want it to work if you're doing a lookup, because it requires identical data. Okay. Last thing I just wanted to show you guys is like just the way Excel handles dates. So as you can see here, this date of 1/1/1990 is formatted in the date format, right? So, you know, that's perfectly as you would expect it. Column B has this number in it with the general format, 32,874. And yet, when we compare these values, we get a true. What's that about? Well, the way that Excel handles dates is that it creates a serial number that goes up from a specified point in time, which I think is the first day in the year 1900. So what this is actually telling you is that we're 32,874 days since the beginning of the year 1900. Okay, and that's why these are equivalent, right? Because Excel knows to read this number when put into the date format as 1/1/1990. So if I actually wanted to see this the way I see this, all I would really have to do is go and click the date format, and then I have the same date, right? It's just the data is being read differently, but it's essentially the same data. Okay? All right. So that's some really basic data format stuff that, you know, as you go along will actually reveal itself to be very consequential as you go and build other you know, models and formulas and so forth. All right.